Hello everyone. This week is an exciting week because it's ModelOFF time. So first off, we're Excel geeks to begin with, but then you combine Excel geeks with finance geeks, and it's just that's just good stuff. And so we have Johann here, who's the CEO, one of the co-founders of ModelOFF. Johann, would you mind reminding everybody a little bit about what the Financial Modeling World Championship is, a little bit of the background of it?
Yeah, certainly. So ModelOFF sort of came about, I guess, from this realization that myself and my business partner John had, was that when you watch some of those high-end Excel and financial modeling experts work away, these guys and girls have a certain skill set, a certain ability to do amazing things in front of Excel, and it started with this idea of, wouldn't it be great to kind of put those guys and girls up against each other to kind of see, all right, who is the best in the world when it comes to building sort of really complex financial models. And the whole idea kind of ballooned from there, and has sort of become these days as much of sort of top young students and top young analysts as it is just a pure contest to kind of find out who the best in the world is. So it's a contest that we run each year. It's an international world championship event. We have people competing from over 100 different countries all around the world, and ModelOFF is just a 2-hour online challenge. So it's designed to be a nice kind of short, sharp, hard and fast, more of an aptitude test or an aptitude quiz type competition, rather than something that you necessarily have to go away and study for days or weeks or months. So kind of in that spirit, it's something that we hold once a year. And of course, round one is coming up on the 17th of October, so just over a week away. So we're really in the heart of ModelOFF season. We've been busy sort of traveling around the world, actually running a whole variety of ModelOFF meetups to bring that Excel and that financial modeling community together. It was something that we realized a little while ago, that we've got such a wonderful and engaged community here with ModelOFF and people, everything from kind of the hardcore Excel experts to the high-end investment bankers, that were really engaged and were really enjoying what they were doing, interacting and kind of testing themselves within ModelOFF. But what we wanted to do is take that from a purely online experience and to kind of bring that community together in the real world. So that's something that myself and my co-founder John, as well as a number of the ModelOFF staff, have kind of been busy over the last sort of 4 months, traveling around the world, running 16 different ModelOFF meetups in kind of major finance cities around the world. And in fact, last week we just concluded that with our 16th and final event in New York, where we had last year's winner and current ModelOFF world champion Dermot Early. So it's full steam ahead here at ModelOFF HQ.
Can you take us through how ModelOFF has grown? I know, in the first year you had so many people sign up and it exploded the second year. How do you see it? So can you just take us through how popular it's getting?
Yeah, certainly. So look, there's a number of new things we've kind of done this year to help sort of grow and engage with that community. We've been running a whole variety of ModelOFF meetups around the world, and the idea behind those was that ModelOFF had fantastic engagement with its community, but it was all online. The rounds were online, you signed up online, and unless you happen to live in New York, where we hold the finals each year, you didn't really get too much of an opportunity to meet and mingle with the rest of this kind of thriving Excel and financial modeling community. So what we want to do is to take that online experience and to create a real-world version of that. So we designed, I guess, the ModelOFF meetup, which was a fun way to bring together the ModelOFF community, both from the kind of the high-end investment banking side of things to those people who are just really passionate about Excel. So we ran 16 meetups around the world across Asia Pacific, across Europe and parts of EMEA, and more recently we've just finished the North American leg of our ModelOFF meetups, the last of which, our 16th meetup, which was in New York last Thursday. And it's just been fantastic to kind of go out and meet with people who have been involved in the ModelOFF competition, competed in previous years, hearing stories about how, say, ex-hedge fund managers have competed in ModelOFF because their son did a maths competition, was doing so well that they kind of sat there one night thinking, you know what, if my son can do really well in a maths competition, I wonder if there's a competition for what I'm good at, which was Excel and financial modeling. And lo and behold, that particular person sat down one night and Googled financial modeling competition and kind of was surprised to stumble across ModelOFF. So kind of had been a long-time participant in ModelOFF each year. So to hear some of those stories of the community that we've kind of built up over the years was really interesting. I think a lot of other people have just really enjoyed having a place to go and chat about their Excel questions, their financial modeling questions, to go and meet a whole bunch of sort of like-minded people. It's been a great exercise from our perspective to see that interest in the community growing and growing and growing. And then I guess finally it's these are people who really enjoy competing against one another. They're people who really enjoy pushing themselves and striving to kind of, wherever they are on their kind of their journey of sort of financial modeling and Excel kind of development, to strive to make it to that next point. So for us, I guess it's bringing together that community of also almost intellectual athletes. Those guys and girls that enjoy competing against each other, that want to do better, that want to learn and grow and develop their skills. So to kind of be able to push, I mean, we've had in some of our meetups sort of up to 200 people in one room, highly engaged, chatting about ModelOFF, chatting about Excel, chatting about financial modeling. So for us, it's the financial modeling meetups have been a big thrill.
But it's interesting that you mentioned the community, and I know that you guys have some special things in store this year, being Excel's 30th birthday and all. I'm curious if you have anything you can share with our viewers as far as what is happening this year in London in December that perhaps is not evident from your website, and I have a little something to share with our viewers as well. So I'll let you take it first. Okay.
So this year, the ModelOFF finals are actually going to be moving to London.
Right.
For a lot of the audience of Excel TV, you're probably familiar with the fact that for the last 3 years, ModelOFF has essentially culminated in a live finals that we've held at Microsoft's offices in New York in December each year. But being a truly global world championship, it had always been our intention to move the finals to different major finance cities around the world. So we're really excited for the first time to be able to take that finals to London. We're again holding it at Microsoft's offices in Cardinal Place in London. But I can tell you a lot of our US competitors are really excited by the fact that, you know what, if I make it to the finals this year, I actually get to win a trip overseas, which is a nice component of the whole ModelOFF experience. Right. So on top of the fact that the ModelOFF finals are now going to be in London, we've also put together a 2-day global training camp. Mm-hmm. And the global training camp was really born out of the idea that, you know what, if you're a top young football player or a top young basketball player, you go off to a summer training camp, you train with some of the best coaches, you train against some of the top young athletes from around the state or around the country or even from around the world. And that's how top young athletes are born. So what we were thinking is, well, what is the equivalent for a top young analyst, a top young financial analyst? How do you kind of separate yourself from the tens of thousands of other kind of young analysts out there? So what we've designed is essentially a 2-day hard and fast ModelOFF global training camp, which has streams covering advanced Excel to investment banking. And we've partnered with some of the best trainers, educators, most experienced professionals out there to put on a multi-stream 2-day conference or 2-day global training camp that is really designed to educate and to train some of the best analysts from around the world. So for example, we've actually got some of the guys and girls from the Microsoft Excel product development team to come out and to train on the Excel stream. So that's arguably being sort of being run and trained by some of the best people when it comes to kind of Excel training. And then we're working with a whole bunch of people on the more sort of finance and business and deal side of the space. That, you know, if you're a top young finance professional in anything from an analytical type discipline to investment banking, that this is something for you to essentially convince your boss to send you along to if you want to really start to separate yourself from the crowd of analysts that are out there. So that's another exciting sort of proposition that we're putting on this year, and that's going to be held 2 days in London.
So we'll share that as a link down below. So thank you for that. And I do have one question for you, and then we're going to pass this over to Sylvia. And this comes in from Kevin Lairbass of myspreadsheetlab.com up in Toronto. I believe he was maybe at one of your global meetups. So a question from him over at
I got to run into Kevin in Toronto just a few weeks ago.
Tall guy, isn't he? Like 6'4", like big guy.
A very passionate guy.
Oh yeah. So his question to you, Mr. Johann Odou. What was it like in the very beginning of ModelOFF and PSCL, the parent company, when it was just an idea? So what were the biggest initial struggles?
Yeah, really good question. The biggest challenge in the first year of ModelOFF was convincing people that this was real, that this was legitimate, that this was a credible competition, and that this wasn't just another little kind of Excel challenge that people had seen before. The challenge for anyone doing something new and quite different is getting to that point of credibility, right? And it was something that we knew was always going to be a challenge from when John and I kind of sat down and said, hey, let's run the Financial Modeling World Championships. The only way that we knew that we could pull that off is if we were able to go out with a certain amount of credibility and a certain amount of scale. That we said early on that if we're going to do this, we wanted to do this properly. And that meant things like having a live finals on the other side of the world, to be able to fly the 16 finalists together and to put on a real world live finals was something that we felt we needed to do to put on a credible world championships. We had a lot of people tell us in the first couple of years that, the Financial Modeling World Championships, it'll never work, I can't see it happening. People that kind of really struggled to see the vision in the first year. However, once we got through that first year, I think a lot of people have changed their minds, now understand how this whole thing can work, how it does work. So really credibility was the biggest challenge that we had. And that was solved with a number of different things. Being able to bring on some of the major sponsors that we had in the very first year, like Microsoft. As soon as Microsoft got behind us and said, yep, we'll help back this. Bloomberg, in the very first year, was one of the first companies to kind of really believe that something like this would happen. S&P, Capital IQ as well, in that very first year of ModelOFF, have kind of helped get the competition to this standpoint. And I think once people realized, once people saw what went on in New York in that very first year, all of a sudden all those doubters they went away. And from there on in, it's kind of been just a gradual process of building and growing the community and refining the competition to make it more interesting, more engaging. And as I mentioned before, the educational side of, I think, what a lot of people get out of ModelOFF is really a big component.
Yeah, I've got to imagine that first year. I can just imagine, like me and Jordan or me and Sylvia deciding, hey, we're going to start up the World Championship of whatever. I can just imagine that credibility at the very beginning. It's like, who are you guys? What have you done? And so I guess you probably ran into that a lot at the very beginning of what gives you the right to run the Financial Modeling World Championship, and your plan and everything else. So,
and that was a question we got a lot, phrased kind of very similar to that, occasionally in less eloquent terms.
Right.
But you're right. It was essentially getting that credibility, getting that proof that, this is something that should exist, does exist, and it was a long kind of 18-month or 12 to 18-month roadway before that first year of the finals, the first year of the competition. But I'm glad we persisted. It took a number of people believing in us, believing in the vision of a competition such as ModelOFF. And you know what? 4 years later, look where we are.
Yeah, haters gonna hate.
Exactly.
So anyway, so thank you for that, Johann.